Hi guys, so a couple of days ago when I was going through the healers I had, for the Abyss obviously, I stumbled upon Barbara and noticed something weird. For those who don't know, her C6 revives your fallen character. Then I started checking out other constellations, and here are some of the best constellations I found. Now bear in mind that I don't have or use many characters, so I might not know about the full potential of certain constellations. Let's get started with the Geotraveler. His first constellation in particular. It's called Invincible Stonewall, and what it does is essentially increase your crit rate by 10% within the radius of his E, and also increases resistance against interruptions. This con makes the Geotraveler an amazing support for free-to-plays. For instance, while building your DPS and other supports, you can switch your focus on the crit damage rather than the crit rate. Now, 10% is not a lot, but it definitely is something to consider. A quick side note. Many people may not like the Traveler, but if you're not very lucky and free to play, you may consider having him around. Kujo Sara, on the other hand, increases the crit damage, however in a rather unique way. Her C6, Sin of Pride, increases the crit damage of the electro damage of characters who had their attacks increased by Tengu Jurai, which is activated by using her E, doing a charge shot and getting into its AoE, and that is increased by 60%. Quite a journey to get that boost, but totally doable, though having it at her C6 may be a major downside for many people. Now Kaya. He's basically the most self-sufficient character out of the free ones. He's a great DPS, he's fast, his E doesn't take too long, and his burst can go with anything really. He can heal himself and be a great sub DPS for any other character. Now his C4 is kinda weird. It's called Frozen Kiss, and when Kaya's health drops below 20%, he gains a shield that absorbs the damage equal to 30% of his max HP, which lasts for 20 seconds. It can occur once every minute, and also the shield absorbs cryo damage with 250% efficiency. That one I don't really understand why it's here. Maybe it is meant for the special scenario when you're fighting a cryo enemy and he's kicking your butt. The con is weird because it works well only if you're taking damage gradually, and if the enemy almost one-shots you, the shield just won't help. But overall, I think it is still quite good to have something to rely on, just in case. The con is harder to get and I wouldn't aim for it personally. Unlike Kaya, who could already heal himself, Zhongli needs his 6th con to be able to do that, Chrysos, Bounty of Dominator. When the Jade Shield takes damage, 40% of that incoming damage is converted to HP for the current character. A single instance of regeneration cannot exceed 8% of that character's max HP. Well, truth be told, it isn't a good constellation. However, if you somehow have it, your Zhongli is now able to heal. Congrats. Barbara. She's a great healer and she gets the job done. One good thing about her is that she can be both a healer and an enabler with her E, depending on your playstyle. Her C6 is called Dedicating Everything to You. When Barbara is in the party but not on the field and one of your own party members falls, automatically revives the fallen character, fully restores that character's HP to 100%. This effect can only occur once every 15 minutes. This is very interesting. Let's say you have a really good DPS and maybe a really good sub DPS, but you don't have a good healer or a good shield, or you cannot dodge. For example, I can beat Ashdaha with my Diluc and any sub DPS, but I don't have a good shield and I'm not good at dodging, so I usually die and use food to compensate. In this or any similar scenarios, I can just have Barbara at slot 4 and just do my thing with my DPSs, and when my DPS dies, it gets revived with full health and I can continue. It can also be useful in the Abyss with Corrosion. Overall, if you're playing long enough, you probably have her at C6 already, and if you are playing long enough, you probably don't need her at all, but it's an interesting constellation nonetheless. Chechi's last constellation, Rite of Resurrection, does something similar. Upon using Elemental Burst, she revives all fallen party members and regenerates 50% of their HP. It also can only occur once every 15 minutes. It surely is better than Barbara's, but you have to consider her being a 5-star. I wouldn't try to get her to C6, but if she comes home anyways, it's a nice con worth giving a try. Xiangling's C6 is also quite nice, though many people focus on the previous ones. I feel like getting to C6, if possible, gives you a little more room for what you can do. Condensed Pyronado, for the duration of her burst, gives 15% pyro damage bonus to all party members. It is especially useful if you main a pyro DPS or a great pyro sub DPS. Klee's C6 Blazing Delight has a similar effect. While under the effects of Sparks and Splash, Klee will regenerate 3 energy for all members of the party, excluding Klee, every 3 seconds. When Sparks and Splash is used, all party members will gain a 10% pyro damage bonus for 25 seconds. It is too pricey for such a weak constellation, but again, if you have it, I'm sure you can have some fun with it. This is gonna be a little controversial, but C6 Bennett is really good for certain characters and teams. What it does is, your characters in the radius of Bennett's burst that use Sword, Claymore or Polearm gain 15% pyro damage bonus, and their weapons get infused with pyro. The downside of this con is you won't be able to use certain characters at their full potential, so it's better to have him at C5. However, if you main Diluc or Xiangling and have other healers or supports, you may want to consider activating his last con. Fischl's C4, her Pilgrimage of Bleak, is also one of the weird ones. Fischl is a great support, but her E takes forever. On top of that, when she uses her burst, unlike other characters, she is able to take damage. Her C4 kinda tries to solve that. When Midnight Phantasmagoria is used, it deals 222% of attack as electro damage to surrounding opponents. When the skill duration ends, Fischl regenerates 20% of her HP. Overall, I'd rather her not having the problem in the first place and simply regenerating her HP, but I cannot complain, it is still very good. Now let's talk about Shinyan. Shinyan is a very unique character. She is built on dealing physical damage and her E creates a shield. Her passive, now that's rock and roll, increases her physical damage by 15% if she's using her shield. Her second constellation, Impromptu Opening, increases the crit rate of her burst physical damage by 100%. She gets a shield too. It is really cool because it allows you to focus on your crit damage and use her mainly for her burst. Hu Tao's C6 is somewhat similar to Shinyan's C2, but way better. Butterfly's Embrace triggers when Hu Tao's HP drops below 25%, or when she suffers a lethal strike. Hu Tao will not fall as a result of the damage sustained. Additionally, for the next 10 seconds, all of her elemental and physical resistance is increased by 200%. Her crit rate is increased by 100%, and her resistance to interruption is greatly increased. This effect triggers automatically when Hu Tao has 1 HP left, can only occur once every 60 seconds. If you have her at C6, you can literally forget about her crit rate, and she'll nuke like crazy. Currently, she is the best nuke in the game. However, getting her in the first place and getting her to C6 is not an easy task. Even if you're not a whale, you probably can get her to C6, but it'll take a lot of time and effort. Diona's C6 is called Cat's Tail Closing Time, and it has 2 parts. Upon using her burst, if a character is within the radius of her burst, they will get a certain buff depending on the HP of a character. If the character's HP is lower or equal to 50%, the incoming healing bonus is increased by 30%. If the character's HP is above 50%, their elemental mastery is increased by 200. It is very useful no matter how you look at it, though getting her to C6 is gonna be a huge pain. Kazuha's C2 does the same thing, but it doesn't have any condition, which is a big plus, though it says the elemental mastery increasing effects of this constellation do not stack. I personally don't have him, so I cannot confirm, but from what I understand, if you use Kazuha's burst again while having 200 EM bonus from the previous burst, the bonus remains at 200. The last character on this list is Mona. This is a unique case where not 1 but 2 constellations give some interesting boosts. First, C1 Mona. It's called Prophecy of Submersion, and what it does is basically any Hydra related damage is increased by 15% for 8 seconds, but only when your character hits an opponent affected by the omen created by Mona's burst. Not gonna lie, it is a very decent constellation. The second one is her 4th constellation, which is called Prophecy of Oblivion. When any party member attacks an opponent affected by an omen, their crit rate is increased by 15%. If you have your character's crit rate around 85, you can literally crit every single hit, or on the contrary, you may lower your crit rate in an exchange for the crit damage, again depending on your playstyle. Obviously, there were other characters who had some good constellations, but generally it only affected said character and didn't give that much of a variety in the playstyle. Some honorable mentions would be Albedo, Ember and Chongyun, with Albedo's better lift with plunge bonus, Ember's bunny and Chongyun's decreased cooldown. Whether you have cons or not, it is usually good to check them out sometimes, just to see what different playstyles you can pull off. What are your top best constellations? Let me know down in the comments. I'm trying out a new schedule and will do my best to upload every Tuesday, so stay tuned. Anyways, it's been Yoloku and I'll see you in the next video.